Thanks everybody for making your way over here to hear about a common sense approach to GenAI, specifically for post-production. My good friend Luke Hale is going to come up in a few minutes. I am Mark Yoder, the Director of Post-Production and Films for Accenture, M&C, which is Marketing and Communications, go figure. We're going to talk about GenAI and a common sense approach. We're going to just kind of break this down, how we approach GenAI, how we evaluate the tools, how we decide which tools we're going to put into production, and what we do from it or with it from there. Just a little introduction of who I am. I was a former television news producer for the first portion of my career. I've been with Accenture for about 12 years now, 10 of that with this same team in which we do internal messaging, marketing, external communications, marketing events, and those kinds of things. We do have just a quick sample of kind of the team that we make up. Since I've joined this team, we've had an explosion in growth. We've started with like 30 people. We moved up to about 120. We split off. We rolled into marketing and communications, and we now make up a very large digital agency. Come on in. A very large internal agency, and we have about 350 people. So we'll just roll this little video that will kind of explain how we all work together.
Reinvention is Accenture's word of the year, and not only because of our successful Reinvented with Accenture campaign. Behind the billboards and airport signage, we were reinventing what an internal creative agency could be. Across Accenture, there used to be various pockets of creatives working independently of each other. Today, we are a globally connected, first-of-its-kind agency at the heart of our brand, and we are adding value for the business. Together, we are M+C Experiences. Canvas, our writers, art directors, and conceptual teams working seamlessly across time zones and cultures. Focus, our broadcast team with storytellers, engineers, producers, and a global talent pool working with state-of-the-art control rooms. Journey, a dedicated team of UX/UI designers and developers who build products and tools that bring our offerings to our clients. Next, a crack unit of future-facing creative technologists collaborating and innovating within the group. Advance, leading the operational excellence of the group with pioneering generative AI-enabled tools and processes aimed at creativity and measurable impact.
Obviously, we've got a lot of opportunities to work with GenAI across our organization, and we're going to talk about how we focus on post-production specifically. We do see, I guess before I go further, I just want to call out everything you see in this presentation was generated with GenAI, including the voiceover in the previous video. So very much a part of our workflow, very much a part of what we're trying to take forward in supporting every aspect of what marketing and communications puts out there. We see it, or I see it, as our creative assistant, not as a replacement for our people. We're quite optimistic about this position and how we can advance our creativity and support our creatives to do better work faster and be more agile as we go forward. We have a global workforce for our team specifically, and it is not unusual for us to get projects with very short timelines, and so we need to really facilitate getting production tools and assets ready to go and into the hands of our creatives as fast as possible. We're not going to talk, or we are going to talk about some tools. I just want to note there's a lot of different use cases here, and I'm not here to endorse any one product or tell you that this is the way you should approach it for your organization or for your team. But rather, you need to really evaluate your use case. Once you start to understand that about your organization, the chips fall into place, and you start to learn and see what's really going to ease your workload, what's going to ease your pain points, and that's what we're going to talk about. At the center of all of this is preserving the human uniqueness, right? We have a lot of conversations about how GenAI can support us moving forward, but not take full control over what we do. And I know that's a huge debate, not just within my team, but across the industry, across all of our teams. And I think it's something we need to keep in mind. And how we preserve that is by putting humans in position to succeed and to have control. And we're training and skill developing all of our team members specifically so they know how to generate content using GenAI without it taking over. So we want to be the decision maker. We have the emotional intelligence. We have the critical thinking skills. We are the brand experts. And so we put that on our people, and we integrate our people into the decision-making process, into the testing process, so we're all involved and we're all having the same conversations together. We talk about a lot of the use cases on a regular basis, what we didn't expect, what we do expect, what we're not expecting to do with a tool. And it's important, I think, that we have this conversation and keep it ongoing. If it feels like it's coming at you really fast, you're not alone, right? I think we probably all on some level feel a little bit overwhelmed. I've been talking to a lot of people today who feel like if you're not already in the game, you're behind the game. And there may be some truth to that, but it's okay to slow down and make some really thoughtful decisions and be responsible about what you're doing with GenAI, right? We're one mistake away from a big problem, any one of us. And it could be reputational for our brands, could be reputational for ourselves. It could end up costing our company millions, billions of dollars in revenue if we make a mistake that we later regret. So I would suggest we slow down just a little bit. And we're going to talk about how we do that in our evaluation phase. Ethical considerations still evolving, right? The tech is outpacing our ability to write and adopt policies and put them into place. That's where I think we need to slow things down just a little bit so we can have these conversations. We can do things with intent. We can take things and use them, but we do them in a thoughtful manner. So when we go into the next step here, choosing the right GenAI for our creatives, we look at this as a three-step process. Now, you wouldn't really start a construction project, right, without a plan. And I suggest we do the same here. And it starts with a simple question. What are you solving for? If you understand what you're solving for, you understand your workflows, you start wide and work your way in, you will start to find the tools that fit your needs. There we go. We see this, like I said, as three phases of evaluation. We start with exploration, that is wide angle. Let's look at or consider all tools. Let's hear from a bunch of different people on what we should bring in. Let's consider all of our options. We down select based on what we know about our business. What are our pain points? What are we solving for? And once we know what we're solving for, then we can start to go into evaluation. And we just did this with 6 different pilots over the last few months. It's a lot of work, but if you tackle this in a methodical way, it starts to make a lot more sense. In evaluation, we set up a framework for what we're going to evaluate, and it's really specific use cases. The effectiveness of a tool, the consistency, is it within brand? Will it adopt our brand? Can we train their models on our brand? How easy is it to use? These are really important questions, and we make sure that we're pulling our people in to help test And when they do, we have these upfront conversations with them about what those use cases are that we're testing. We lay out a framework for scoring, because you can't really do this without some kind of metric that comes back and guides you. Otherwise, it's all anecdotal, and it's lacking any kind of organization, and in my opinion, it's not robust. Let some data help drive your decisions, right? And so I think scoring, even simple scoring, 1 through 5 on different categories, helps you drive a decision. And then we move on to adoption, pardon me. Adoption is about being transparent. We explain to our people what we're going to do and why, how we're going to use these tools, and then we talk about what we're not going to do with these tools. And we're pretty clear. We've seen some use cases come back that we weren't expecting to see when we first started testing a tool, and those work, and those are fine, but we have to have communication back and forth. We have ongoing learning sessions. We bring in our vendors. We just did this last week with Runway. They're really good about taking the time to work with our teams, explain how different aspects of their tool works, how to get more out of the tool. And that's really, I think, a very important thing, is having two-way communication back and forth with your vendor. As you get your thorough feedback in the evaluation phase, you want to be sharing that with them. That helps you understand what's on their roadmap. Where's their tool going to evolve? Will they eventually eliminate some of the gaps that you're uncovering, or the needs your organization has? And you only share that, or you only get that, if you're really communicating back and forth. And so we take that through adoption. We bring the vendors in regularly. We've got another session next week with Runway again. And this is not the only vendor that we're doing this with. We consistently do this with all of our vendors, whether it's an AI platform or somebody from Adobe and Frame.io. We regularly bring the vendors back in and continually update with their latest thinking, with their latest tips and tricks, and we continue this conversation. We really thread it through pretty nicely. And the one last point I want to make on adoption is it's a community effort, right? It can't be somebody has to figure this out on their own. If we're figuring it out on our own, the organization starts to lose control, and things start to go in different directions that we're not expecting. And that's, in my opinion, a risk, especially when you're dealing with decentralized teams across the globe. Next thing I know, my team in Manila is doing something off book or off brand that we have no idea about. And so we really try to keep this community aspect going regionally and globally. So new ways of working for creatives. Let's bring up Luke, who is coming at this from a very different perspective. Luke is the director or head of media for CrunchLabs and Mark Rober, right? He is a celebrity, at least in my 9-year-old's eyes. Yeah. So you're coming at this from a much different angle because you've got a much smaller organization. I'm coming at this from one of the world's largest. How do you guys approach AI? What tools are you starting to think about, and how do you roll them in?
Yeah, it is funny. It was nice for me and Mark to meet before this because we started talking, and we go back as far as, I don't know, this same event 2 years ago, and it's been good to get to know Mark. But our organizations are incredibly different, and I used to work for Apple. I used to work for a global agency, and a lot of the constraints that Mark was dealing with sound really familiar, but now I work in a very different environment, and oftentimes I think the social production environment feels like the Icarus environment, where you're just flying as close to the sun as you can and trying not to destroy anything. And certainly that's what our adoption of AI has kind of looked like. And the pilots are much less formal, and we are really in the habit of empowering the end user with whatever tool they've asked for. seeing what they do with it, and seeing the extent to which we can adopt it across our organization. And we also believe that most pilots fail. And the most challenging thing about being in a management responsibility at this moment of trying to adopt AI is, like Mark said, things are moving faster than they ever have before. It's completely overwhelming. And I think 6 months ago, it felt like every offering from new AI vendor was brand new, and it was some capability you had never even considered in your workflow. And now today, everybody's got 3 or 4 competitors that are doing the same thing. And so trying to evaluate amongst those competitors gets really challenging. And you absolutely know that tomorrow there's going to be a new tool that didn't exist today. So for us, I think it's, what are the core foundations and the core principles you're not going to abandon in that process of flying as close to the sun you can and adopting new tools? I'm sure all of you are developing best practices around this. And for us, it's just having really good metrics and defining the success of whatever tests that we're running. A lot of what we're defining metrics around is qualitative. When is something good enough? You're not currently seeing any AI-generated B-roll, in a Mark Rober video. It's just absolutely not going to happen. But I shouldn't say absolutely not going to happen because, maybe it'll be happening by the next upload, but I kind of doubt it. And so we're very careful to look at things like synthesized voice in AI localization, right? And what does that do to average view duration? So for us, average view duration is one of those things that has just become a North Star for synthesized voice in localization. And so, everything is a test, and we're regrouping after every test to look at what were the results, how did it impact those key metrics that we know are going to be super important to drive the success of our business, and then, once we feel really secure in that, then we can roll it out on a wider basis. I think in post-production, AI is going to eventually save us a ton of time, and it's already starting. There's some workflows that we just wanted to make happen with the MAMs of 2006 to 2019. Everybody eventually loved the idea of a MAM, but you just couldn't commit the manpower to get the amount of metadata in there to really make it valuable. And so for as much money as I've spent in my career on MAM systems, I think most of that was money that could have been flushed down the toilet. And today, you now have the opportunity to actually get really great search across your media assets, right? So I think that that's a huge win, and I think we're going to continue to we're going to continue to get wins like that moving forward. But it's tricky to know how to adopt these. And I think it's probably trickier for Mark. I think the larger your organization, the trickier this is. But yeah, that's our perspective. We are moving fast. We're trying everything, and
don't downplay it, right? Like, we all have a reputation here, or our companies have a reputation, our personalities have a reputation, and it's all on us to protect that and to be a guardian for that. So don't downplay what you guys are doing, the challenges you face. Some of the favorite use cases, I don't know if any of these resonate with you. These were just some of the top hits from my team as we started to put this presentation to go. The ability to not have to spend half a day rotoscoping somebody in front of a background. B-roll creation, whether that's from scratch or taking an asset that is from our still library and creating just a 10-second clip out of it to drop into a video. Ideation and storyboard, I talked a lot about how we moved very quickly, how we can rapidly prototype, and we'll show a few examples. This is for us key because we move really quickly from storyboarding and conceptualization into production, and that saves us a ton of time. Animatics for illustrations, copywriting, take a massive deck, put it into Copilot, put it into writer.ai, and you get something that's consolidated, something that's workable. A 70-page deck is a famous thing at Accenture. I need some help consolidating a message, distilling a message, localization and voiceover. So let's run through a couple of these. Text to video. Obviously, a highly detailed prompt gets you closer to what you're looking for than not. But it's our ability to really closely align quickly with what our stakeholders are looking for. So if you can give a very detailed prompt, you can create something just for somebody to react to pretty quickly. And for us, that's very valuable time spent. We can do this in minutes, whereas pulling together an illustration would take half a day. Another one our team loves is image to video. Luke, this is what I was talking about. Hero image on the left, the clip on the right. Right, these drop into videos pretty easily, and this is a still image that was in our still library, and we needed a time lapse outside of an Accenture office. So this one is an actual use case that is gone out the door. It is something that we've leaned on pretty heavily as we get started here, and it works pretty well. Another example, text to image and an image to video, right? How many times have we wasted time searching Getty or Shutterstock, Film Supply for an asset that you can never find? We plugged something in, future of GenAI, a very simple prompt into Runway. We got 4 assets back, and then we were able to drag one in and take that image and create a video out of it. That's rapid prototyping, right? That's the ability for us to take something to our clients, to our stakeholders, and get a reaction to. Is this the idea you have in your head? And that helps us speed up the rapid prototyping, the shorter timeline to production. These are really important for us. Ideation to storyboards. You were just showing me a storyboard. Have you guys done anything where you're using a mid-journey like tool to create storyboards? This ends up being a shot sheet for us, so we took it right back out in the field. The producer used this as an element to just more like style and direction. The end product didn't look exactly like this, but it was conceptual, and it was a good guiding point for us to move forward with.
Yeah, we have done some. Most of the storyboarding that we do is around thumbnails and evaluating what a thumbnail is going to look like in its finished state. And for that, the brainstorming around that is really around composition. So it's not the artist's ability so much to put together a visual representation of what that thumbnail is going to look like. It's more about their ability to ideate different looks of a thumbnail and how things might be put together. So we still really rely on humans to do that. But of course, the wonderful thing about having these tools across your organization is now creativity can come from different places, right? People that aren't traditionally creative have now found a way to articulate what they're trying to say to the creative team. And so we're seeing a lot of that, and just the ability to prototype these things really rapidly. If we have a concept that we like, yes, we can put it together and we can make it happen with AI in a matter of minutes, and then we can go make it in real life.
Yeah. And we were talking this morning about the convergence of humanity and AI, right? How do you keep the humans involved in the process? This is just a guide. This isn't the end product, right? And so it's now the job of the human to take it one step further, to fill in the gaps, to really bring it to life. And I love your point about, right, people that weren't previously or have a design background being creative. This is another tool for them to express that and express it quickly, which for us, that's huge.
It is interesting too. You could, like, the least sexy way to talk about your career is to say you spent time in middle management, right? And certainly, like at Apple and the agency I worked for, and now, that's the least sexy way that you could summarize what I've done, is I've spent my time in middle management. But there's also all of this talk about how managers, organizations are getting flatter, people are getting more technical, and you're seeing this great flattening of organizations, and certainly a lot of people I know that fit kind of in that middle have struggled to find a home, in some of these recent years with that transformation. And the cool thing about what's happening with AI is it's time for us to get technical again, right? I can write code because I have access to AI. I can, get into Python. I can start to analyze data. There's a lot of things that I couldn't do 3 years ago as one of those people in the middle. And now it's an opportunity for me to, like, if you need to re-engage in the technical, AI has just made it completely possible. And so as a manager, it does feel now like you have because of these AI tools, 3, 4, 5 more employees that you need to keep fed, and you need to think about how you're leveraging these tools and how they're providing output for the organization. But it really is just a wonderful tool in the toolbox to be doing something maybe slightly different than what you were doing before.
Yeah, and a great opportunity to get more people engaged in technology from the very beginning, which typically doesn't happen. This, it does feel like everybody on the team is more engaged with GenAI than we have been with any other technology that's come along in my career. Illustrated storyboards, this is another good concept, right? This probably cleared 4 or 5 hours of a person's time. We take one of these brand approved assets and we're able to animate it very quickly. An animatic, right? We take these kinds of concepts or these kinds of clips into our conversations with our stakeholders and with our clients really often. Instead of spending a half day, we're spending 10 minutes. This is a cool example. Storyboard to content delivery. Our friends in our partner organization, Canvas, brought us this storyboard. One of our designers was able to essentially create this from scratch video based on the deck in 30 minutes. And this is a really glossy piece. And this was all generated using AI. Now, all we really did was take this and move it into a tool that converted the stills into video, but the end user, the viewer, doesn't realize that. Voiceover, this is another good one, right? We use AI-generated voice for some projects. We use it really a lot for scratch tracks. Rapid concepting and prototyping, right? You can see how long a script actually is without sending somebody into the audio booth. And the quality is really quite good.
Banks today face a paradox. Digitization has transformed banking, making it faster, simpler, and more convenient than ever before. But at what cost? In the relentless pursuit of...
So a good example of something that was generated from scratch, right? We saw a video that ASG played this morning, and same concept, right? They had a AI-generated voice. We also use it for pickups, right? We've cloned some of our people's voices, and instead of sending them back into the audio room time and time again, because the script keeps changing, we're able to do pickups, which is exactly what we did in this example.
But when being there in person is not possible, we have an exciting alternative to offer. By leveraging our network of LED studios in New York, San Francisco, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and London, we can...
Again, something that we were able to do very quickly. We were able to update this. That's a producer on our team, a real person. She did the initial voiceover. All pickups happened in AI, and it was seamless for us. Then the one that makes everybody's heads explode, synthetic avatars, right? Like, is Mark Rober going to show up as an avatar someday? This handsome guy sure did. And it looks pretty sharp. Now, I will be very clear, we're not using synthetic avatars. It is a hot debate within Accenture, as I'm sure it is in a lot of different places, but...
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them.
I really meant it there at the end. Really meant it, really leaned into end them. And then in French.
Être ou ne pas être, telle est la question. Est-il plus noble pour l'esprit de subir la fronde et les flèches d'une fortune outrageante, ou de prendre les armes contre une mer d'ennui, et en s'y opposant, d'y mettre fin?
Guarantee you I don't know French. But I think the lip sync's pretty good. On a monitor that you're closer to and probably a little less washed out, the video quality is pretty solid. In a well-lit room, it works pretty well. All right. Mark Rober, up there.
Probably not on the next upload.
All right. Well, we are out of time. That 30 minutes flew by. This was a ton of fun for me to really dig in with my team and put this together for all of you today. Luke, thank you for sharing your insight, because you come from a very cool place, and I'm really interested in what they do over there. At any rate, to all of you, thank you for coming and standing here. Appreciate the time.